and welcome to our continuation of our series through the spiritual disciplines. Today we're talking about Sabbath. I think many of us are probably familiar with at least the word Sabbath, but really what is it when it comes to our spiritual disciplines? Sabbath actually comes from a Hebrew word Shabbat, which basically means to stop and to rest. We're probably familiar with the creation story where after God does 6 straight days of creation, he stops, he rests, he has Sabbath for himself on the 7th day. And what's interesting about this is that God makes Sabbath a commandment. All the other spiritual disciplines that we've talked about are just expectations, suggestions, encouragements, but Sabbath is actually the only command that we're going to talk about. This is what it says in Exodus 20. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. This is one of the 10 commandments. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household can do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and your female servants, your livestock, or any foreigners living among you. See, Sabbath is a commandment. It's right between you shall not take my name in vain and honor your parents. So why is Sabbath so important? Why is it a commandment while all of these other spiritual disciplines are simply expectations or requirements for spiritual growth? This is what John Mark Comer says about Sabbath in The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. He says, Sabbath becomes a spiritual discipline by which we cultivate the spirit of restfulness in our lives as a whole. Jesus was beating up on a legalistic, guilt-heavy religious culture that had totally missed the Father's heart behind the command to slow down one day a week. And so we have this tension between restfulness and restlessness. Sabbath is where restfulness begins to chip away at restlessness in our lives. We have busy weeks full of school and work and kids and making dinner and reading social media and all that's going on in the world and more bad news and approaching deadlines. Like, restlessness is all around us. And Sabbath is a day where we can leave that all behind and embrace restfulness. And now look, it's not easy, right? It's kind of like solitude. You got to make it happen. It is your responsibility to make Sabbath happen in your week, where it's just one day where you do nothing. And I don't mean just like sit on your couch and watch TV, although maybe that could be a part of it. But it's not doing the things that require work and stress throughout your week. Not doing those things. It's not about even that we're practicing some kind of religious element of faith, but the purpose of Sabbath is restorative and recuperative day. That's a gift for us. A restorative and a recuperative day of rest for us is a spiritual gift. We understand who God is by recognizing His goodness in us, through us, and around us. And we see it in the people in our lives. And Sabbath really is actually set up for you to see and feel and laugh and play and be with others. Sabbath isn't anything that you necessarily have to practice religiously, right? It's not this Christian thing that you must do. Sabbath is just a day of not doing, right? And so Sabbath isn't necessarily for us to be with God, but to recognize God and His presence and His power in creation, in relationships, and in the communities around us. A big part of Sabbath is to get together in our faith community, right? And maybe we do some religious things and some Christian things that we might only ever do in church there, but really it's about to be in community with one another to celebrate what God has done. And after that, the sky is the limit, right? Via Kushner is a Jewish woman who grew up in New York City. She has a book called The Grammar of God, and love how she talks about Sabbath. This is what she says, that she recognized and appreciated the relationships around her through Sabbath. She says, I got to know my father during Shabbat or Sabbath. Perhaps that is why honoring our parents and keeping Shabbat are neighbors in the Ten Commandments. Because time allows us to know and honor our own family. Respecting a person requires time. Moreover, and more deeply, the day in which I got to know my father, Shabbat, allowed me to love what I have. Shabbat let me see my world and try to approve of it. It let me see Abba, a man few people understood. She says, it is not a thing to just love the Sabbath or even to like it, but to keep it. That is the command. What Shabbat is about is a commitment to respect time, to let time also have a prime place in your life. And so here are the things that we need to know about how you can practice Sabbath practically as we go through these spiritual disciplines. Stop, rest, delight, and contemplate. Those are the four things that we need to do. The first thing is to stop. In order to correctly stop is to recognize that the world will continue to turn without you. Right? The world will go on without you doing work on your Sabbath day. It's going to continue. Whether you want to admit it or not, the world doesn't need you every single day to make it turn, to make it work. Leave your work behind. Even in the tradition, the Jewish tradition of Sabbath, they had something called a day of preparation, which was a day before Sabbath, where they basically prepared themselves for Sabbath. In your context, it might be to make sure that all your emails are answered, all your deadlines are met, all your work is done before your day of Sabbath. If you can prepare for Sabbath by making sure your work is done, your emails are answered, everything needs to be done, your day of preparation can make your Sabbath successful. Don't bring your work home. Don't answer emails on Sabbath, right? Don't paint your living room again. Stop, relax, and delight in the Lord. That's the first thing, is to stop. The second is to rest. I am giving you permission to take a nap. I love to do that on Sundays. After church, I usually come home, we feed the kids, and I go take a nap while watching the Blue Jays lose, right? This is just how it works for me. Have friends over for dinner, laugh, smile, go run with your kids outside as you play, right? Get together with some friends for coffee or for dinner, whatever it is. And I'm not saying don't be physically active, but do something that isn't going to make you more tired on Monday morning or the next day, right? Rest. Make sure that rest is a part of your Sabbath so that God can refill you with more and more of himself. So the second thing is to rest. This is what Peter Scazzero, who wrote the very popular book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, says about resting. When we stop and rest, we respect humanity and the image of God in us. We don't serve Sabbath. Sabbath serves us. The third thing is to delight. Delight in God's creation. In the creation count of Genesis 1 and 2, God delighted in his works and proclaimed that it was very good. It's Genesis 1:31, which communicated a sense of joy and completion in each one of those days. So find happiness and contentment and completion of your week in your Sabbath day. Delight in it. Be thankful for what you've accomplished and what you've done this past week as you rest. And the final thing is to contemplate. Make contemplation a part of your Sabbath. Maybe it's part of being in church or in a faith gathering of some sort. It's in many of our Sabbath days. Therefore, worship becomes a part of contemplation and contemplating God on Sabbath. Worship, right? As you watch your kids run in the backyard, just contemplate God's goodness on your Sabbath day and as you rest. As you gather with friends and have heavenly divine conversations, contemplate those things in your Sabbath day of rest. So take one day off a week for yourself, away from work, away from the tensions and the struggles of your life, and just rest and contemplate God's goodness. I hope that this practical little teaching on Sabbath helps you in your own spiritual disciplines.